Hey guys, it's Ep44 here and welcome back to episode 44 of my Dortmund career mode. Now in today's episode we're going to be starting season 3 and hopefully signing a couple of players, also selling a few players as well. So quite an interesting episode. We might not be able to actually play any games in today's episode, but certainly a lot to get through and a lot to try and achieve, and we're going to hopefully try and bring in a couple of decent players in today's episode. I've got a few players which I've got my eye on, but also we're going to be doing some player drills as well, kind of throughout the summer as we go into this new season. So before we get into things, if we could go ahead and hit 40 likes on today's episode, I would really appreciate it, and if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well. That will be absolutely fantastic. Let's crack on with today's episode. Like I said, we will be going through just the end of the second season now. As you can see, we did finish second. If you didn't see the last episode, then maybe it makes sense to watch out first because we played the Champions League final as well. But now we are going to be finishing off this season, going into the new season, and we're going to be selling a few key players basically, but not too many, just one or two. Castro is one of the players I'm looking at to try and get rid of, and there's a couple of other players as well that are big names, but not really, we don't really need to use them anymore. We're going to try and build on this team, hopefully in this third and potentially final season, depending on what you guys would like to see, obviously, on the channel. We're going to hopefully try and build a really, really good team that allows us to win the league, the Champions League, and all the other different sort of cups that we can win. So, let's look at a few different scout reports. We're going to be looking at a couple of different players which I've got my eyes on at the moment. We're not going to really go for too many young players. I know I've got one here, but he doesn't look that fantastic really for his age. We are going to be looking at a new left back potentially, because I think Durham might be on the way out for us. Going to try and see whether we've got anybody better to try and bring in. Wendell, I think as I pronounce his name, might be Vendel. I'm just going to go Wendell for now, until you guys correct me. He's 81 rated, looks really good, and I think a player that I'm particularly looking at, obviously we don't know our budget just yet, but certainly someone that we're looking at going into the new season. There's a few other players as well, but what I will now do is end this second season and crack on to the third season. Okay, so here we go into the new season now, just loading it up here. Basically what the board said at the end of season review is that even though we didn't meet all of our objectives, I did good enough basically in the last season, so they still feel I'm the right man for the job. So we're going to continue in the job. I'm glad about that because obviously I've not planned for anything else this episode. We're going to bring in some new players. I'm looking forward to trying to sign some decent players as well. There's a couple, like I said before, will be on the way out. But basically what we're going to try and do is build a team around that formation which I've been trying to go with. The new 4-3-3 formation, which I've been trying to play in the last sort of episode or two now. And yeah, we're going to see where that takes us this season. I'm hoping that with that sort of change of style, that we can get some better performances in the league in particular. We are going to look at a couple of players that just suit that sort of style a little bit better. But yeah, we'll crack on with that now. Okay, so here we are in the new season now. As you can see, this is our transfer budget for the new season. Just under 70 million and a wage budget of just under 200 grand. It's okay. We obviously had loads of money towards the end of last season, so I suppose it's not bad, but I was kind of expecting a little bit more maybe, especially when I've made them £200 million worth of profit. I think it was 270 in fact in the end. Maybe I was expecting a little bit more, but still a decent chunk of money anyway. Let's go through the objectives now before we go any further with things. Basically, the youth development one, they want me to sign 4 players in the youth academy assigned to each of the following positions: goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, forward. So one for each position basically, and assign them into our youth academy, I think is what it says. Yeah, so that should be pretty simple, I would have thought, to be honest. Brand exposure goals, gain £170 million worth of earnings from shirt sales. I think that's the same as last year. We managed to do it last year, so we should be able to do it this year as well. And earn, I think, another similar sort of target to the one we had last year was 144.5 million from media earnings. That's in 3 seasons. We should be able to do that as well quite comfortably. And win the German Cup, I think that is, and win the Bundesliga this year as well. Reach the final of the Champions Cup again. We're hoping to do the treble. Hopefully that can happen. We'll wait and see though how we get on. We need to start signing some players, but also selling the ones we don't need, because our squad is literally full right now. I mean, it was on 52, it's for some reason gone down to 50, but yeah, it is massively full, so we need to start to get rid of some of the players that we won't need. I've already listed a few, but there's still some more I think to try and get rid of. Weidenfeller's on the way out again for the second time on this career mode. That will be the end of him at this club now, because we need to obviously cut down the wage bill a little bit, get in a little bit of money, and also get rid of the players I'm clearly not going to use, and he's one of them, so he's on the way out sadly for us, and that means that we can now allow this French goalkeeper to be our third choice keeper for this season. Okay, so this is the finalised list of the players that we're going to be getting rid of. I've also released one player now as well. He's called Winter. I think we signed him actually in the last couple of episodes, but he was 18 years old. Current overall was not good enough, and if we're only going to be doing this for I think maybe one more season. Obviously, it's down to you guys in particular. But I think if we can get all the trophies won in this season, then it probably will just go on for one more year. But we will go through now the transfer list. We've got Garcia. So there's quite a few youngsters, bear that in mind. There's a lot of youngsters I just don't think are cutting it, really. So we are going to have to be pretty ruthless and get rid of those that aren't good enough, basically. Garcia transfer listed. Schürrle transfer listed. Not planning on using him too much. He's okay. He's actually scored some decent goals for us. But the thing with Schürrle is he just doesn't quite have everything I'm after. So we are going to get rid of him. Castro, as I mentioned before. Romero, another player. Mellets, Palacios. Albrecht, Charlotto was another player that was already transfer listed, Durm and obviously Weidenfeller, as I mentioned before. So there's quite a few players to get rid of. We need to slim down the squad a little bit. I can't actually count how many there are there. Is that 10 players, I think, that have been transfer listed? Something like that. A couple for a year loan, but to be honest, I won't be looking to loan out many players because, like I say, it will probably just go on for one more season. I would expect anyway. So let's move on to some bids now. I think we should start to look at trying to sign some players. That's obviously crucially important for us to try and get in some good players. Vendel is one player that we're going to be taking a look at as another left back. I really like Guerrero. I would love to use him as much as possible, but ultimately we will need a second left back at some stage during the season. And whether it's Wendel starting or Guerrero, we need another left back basically in that position. So there's going to be quite a bit of competition between these two. Hopefully, though, we can try and sign Wendel from Bayer Leverkusen and see whether we can weaken their side a little bit, but also more importantly, strengthen our side. Very fast. Standing tackle and slide tackle is really good. Dribbling's decent. Short passing as well, which is something I do look at really for my defenders to be able to play it out from the back. So very good stuff from him. He looks a decent player. Is he also? Oh, I was about to say he's 6 foot, but he's not. He's 5'9". But still good enough for me. So we will put in a bid. And we are going to be putting in another bid, and then that might be it for now. We'll obviously look at other bids later on in this episode or another episode, but the next one's going to be for Arnold. Maybe a little bit of a different sort of bid that you probably weren't expecting. But basically, short passing's really good, but I'm wanting someone that can finish, can score goals from midfield, and his finishing is 81. Very good for a centre mid. We're going to put in a bid for him. Going to be a little bit more expensive than I was expecting, but I think about 28 to begin with is what I'm going to go with. Obviously, we can chuck in Castro if we really want to. Give them him, and that might be a more sort of achievable bid that they might decide to accept. But for now, we'll just go with pure cash, see what they say to that, and I think we'll move on to the next couple of days and see what crops up sort of email-wise. I think there's some sort of, is it a World Cup, I think? So there's quite a few players out on international duty. I've just realised I completely forgot to do a squad report. I did see a comment in the last episode saying I've not done one in a while, and that is true. Usually I would do one at the end of the season, but I completely forgot. So even though you can't see the growth of the stats, we'll go through them all now really quickly. Obviously, if you'd like to pause at any point, please feel free. I can't believe I forgot that. I've actually got it written down to make sure I remembered to do it. And I've obviously completely forgotten. But anyway, these are the players. Obviously, we can't see growth, like I said before, but you can certainly just see how much they've gone up if you remember from previous overalls in different episodes. And they are going up quite nicely. We hope to continue that into this season as well and try and get some of these youngsters that I think are good enough to get into the starting 11 at some stage. Hopefully try and get them going up in overall as well. We do have a lot of youngsters, a lot of players here, some which we need, some which we don't obviously as well. And I hope to use Richter a lot this season. I hope to try and get him into the side. I'm hoping he's going to be our sort of Rashford type player that can maybe get us a few goals when other players are struggling. But yeah, we do need to take a look at the striker situation as well. We do have quite a few strikers that are quite good, so it's going to be difficult to keep hold of sort of 4 or 5 big name strikers. Okay, we've got some player drills to quickly do now before we sim any further on. Got a lot of youngsters here, obviously trying to train them up. Not any progress obviously this week, but there will be hopefully throughout the rest of the season. Let's also get on to the pre-season side of things as well. We won't necessarily be playing these games, but I think it's important to try and get in a little bit more money and also to try out various different combinations of players as well. So we'll advance to the invites. We won't necessarily go for the most expensive one, we'll just go for the one we're most likely to win, I think. Which is a difficult choice to be honest, because we've got Man United and Tottenham in that one. That's maybe our best decision actually going for there, because we've got PSG and Man City and then Barcelona and Chelsea. So yeah, we might have to go for the cheapest one, and never that's going to be the easiest one, but we will go for that. Hopefully the most winnable out of the 3 there that we had. But yeah, let's crack on now to seeing some emails, seeing whether we've got any more. In fact, we've got a playback from injury. It's Aubameyang returning early on, which is good news for us. And yeah, let's wait and see now if we do get any more emails back from different clubs. Okay, the first one is back, and it's from Bayer Leverkusen, and it's basically rejecting the bid that we put in for Wendel. 27.5 million is what they're asking for. It's a lot of money. The initial bid was obviously 20. We might have to, I think, put Durham as part of this deal, to be honest. That might be the only way of being able to get him in. Don't really want to give them as much, though. 17 and 11, that's going to be maybe a little bit too much still. 15 and Durham is what we're going to go with, and see what Bayer Leverkusen say to that. And we've also got another player returning from injury, all at the same time by the looks of it. We've got Moreno returning now. Fantastic news for us. Obviously, he will be, I think, more important this season, but still struggling to find his perfect position. It might be at CDM, but I'm not a huge fan of him playing a little bit further forward because he doesn't really have good enough pace for my liking. I've also got Wolfsburg rejecting the bid just outright. He's too valuable to them, and 28 million is not going to be enough by the looks of it. So it seems like Castro is going to be a better option as part of that deal. Okay, so what we're going to do is go with 20 million plus Castro. He's worth about sort of 13 million roughly. So it's still a lot of money, is that. We've also got the 20 million as well as Castro, so it is a lot of money. I hope they do accept it, but we'll wait and see over the next few days. Big game against River Plate now. What I will do is change around the team. We have a lot of players out on international duty, which is going to make this team obviously very weak. But we'll wait and see what sort of side we're able to put out. We've only just managed to put together a team here, basically. So we've gone with Wellen Ruther, we've gone with Charlotto as my right back, Tar, Schaffer, Paslak as my left back, Weigl, Luna, Roda, Alexander Arnold, Emery Moore and Marquez playing on the left-hand side. He's actually just scored 6 minutes in. We will just skip it pretty much straight away. Won the game 3-1, no injuries as well, which is perfect. So our first 3 points of the pre-season tournament, that's very good news for us. Hopefully we can continue that and try and progress as far as possible. Wolfsburg have come back to us and rejected the bid for Arnold. They've said they're not interested in the player and the cash amount on its own is not enough. So they've rejected this bid, but hopefully going to put in an improved bid. It doesn't seem like they're too interested in Castro, but we might have to continue with that, to be honest. We don't have many other players which I'm willing to give them. But I think Castro will be our best option here. Maybe Schürrle, actually. Could Schürrle be a better option? And 10 million. See what they say to that. It's a lot of money, again, that we've given them. Schürrle's obviously worth a lot, and 10 million on top of that as well. They are interested in the player this time, but they want 19 million for Wendell, and we will see whether we can near enough match that 18, try and get a little bit off that deal if we can. It is a lot of money again for him, but we're going to have to go with it to try and improve the squad. Transfer offer in for Weidenfeller. Now, obviously, he's 37 years old, but he's transfer listed. It's Bremen that have come and put in a bid for 1.2 million for him, and we're going to ask for the full 1.3. And see whether we can get him out of the door. Obviously, he's not played since he returned, I don't believe. But we had to, I think, try and get in another goalkeeper at the time. And he was the one that I went with. But sadly didn't manage to play for us. So we may as well get rid of him. Now let's remake the team, change a few players out, and see what sort of side we can come up with for this next game against Sevilla. Okay, on to the next game now. Donnarumma starts for us. It's a similar sort of team. 1 or 2 changes here and there. Change around the striker. I think also one of the centre mids and our left winger. We'll give this a go, see what sort of result we can get, and it's a 3-0 loss. Quite an obvious loss there. We were never really going to challenge him, I don't think, too much from that sort of game, especially with the team we had out with 2 really weak centre-backs. So can't be too disappointed with the 3-0 loss. It was really kind of as anticipated, especially with that Sevilla team they had out. It was very strong. So, great news. Wolfsburg have accepted the bid that we put in for Arnold, including Andre Schürrle. It's a shame to see him go, but it seems like he's on the way out now as part of this deal. I think it was the only way, really, to try and get in Arnold. I was obviously trying to get rid of Castro as part of it, because inevitably he's going to have to go at some point as well. Don't know whether to put him as an important or crucial first-team player. I think if you're going to try and bring in this sort of guy, you have to almost give him crucial first-team player. But there are other players that we've also got in the squad that are pretty decent and he will be competing with. So important first-team players what we're going to go with, just to be safe and see whether he agrees to that. And we've also got Wendell accepting, or Bayer Leverkusen accepting the bid for Wendell, I should say. 60 grand a week is what he's wanting. We will match that, and we'll go with the 4-year deal. Important first-team player, again, I think is pretty fair, and we'll see how that deal gets going. Obviously, as part of that, we can get rid of Durham, which is great news for us, to get one of the players that we weren't too keen on keeping out of the door. And yeah, that's great if we can try and sign him now with that contract. Next game now against Roma. Again, similar sort of team, 1 or 2 changes. Schürrle comes in, because why not? He's on the way out. We may as well use him. Iheanacho, we've got in there as well this time round. He actually scores now. We'll skip the game. Won the match 3-1. That should really get us into the next round, I think, 6 points. We'll wait and see exactly, though, what has happened. I would imagine it should get us through. It is against Man United in the next round. Wow, what a game that will be for us. Berahino has also gone to Wolfsburg as well, 19.5 million. Quite a large bid for him. Also going to the Bundesliga will be interesting for us. We got 2 million there, as you saw a second ago, which is great news. Gives us a little bit more money to obviously spend on players if we need them. Here we go, some transfer offers in. First of all for Durham. We're obviously going to reject it. We don't want him to go because we're trying to sign him, try and sign another player using him. We've got Napoli also putting a bid for Donnarumma, and that's nowhere near enough. We're going to be talking nearer 50 million, I would imagine, for him. And we've got another one in from Bremen. They're not willing to budge on the 1.2 million, so we will just accept it, get him out the door, and hopefully add to our wage budget a little bit as well. Arnold also accepts the new contract, so Andre Schürrle's on the way out after playing his last match for us. That's accepted now. I'm really looking forward to using Arnold. He's the sort of player that I was after. I was quickly searching off camera for players that I was kind of after, and he was certainly one that I was looking at. Looked really good, and basically what I was after was someone that could score goals, could pass, and that was really about it. They didn't have to do too much more, and he can do all of those. So he's obviously a little bit more attacking, but as you can see from the positions he can play, virtually anywhere in midfield. I didn't actually know he could play centre attacking mid and CDM, but certainly looks really good. Left-footed. Hopefully he can get some decent long-range goals with him this season. That's going to be the aim, and he might well go into our team, actually, for this next game against Man United. Another transfer offer in, this time for one of my youngsters. I think he's actually played 1 or 2 games for us in the pre-season. It's for 300 grand. It's not that bad for a player I rarely use, and probably didn't use at all last season. We'll take it. We'll just go ahead and accept that. I can't see him growing particularly well, but fantastic news. Derm's on the way out. We get in Wendell as well. He looks really, really good. Obviously, usually I'd ask you guys sort of what you think of these transfers, but we don't really have enough time to be able to do that. We didn't get any transfer suggestions in the last episode. I didn't really ask for them, to be honest. I completely forgot about the transfer window obviously coming up in this episode. But yeah, we want to obviously hear your transfer suggestions still, because there's obviously next episode which we can try and sign players if we need to. But big game against Man United now. This will probably be the last one of the episode, and then we might have to end ththings here. We'll also change around the team again and see whether we're able to get into the final. Okay, so here we go. The game against Man United. I've got a feeling we're going to go out, because whenever I sim a game and we're on the right-hand side, or the away team type thing, we always seem to lose. But good news for us, they've actually got an injury quite early on. They've got a very weak team out as well, especially in that defence and the goalkeeper. Very weak team. So that might be a chance for us. Saying that, Wilson's just scored. We have equalised through Paslak, who starts at right back this time round. We'll skip it. We've won 4-3 on penalties. Fantastic news. And revenge as well. Great news for us. Obviously, if you didn't see the last episode, we lost to them on penalties in the Champions League final. That game was a little bit more important, but we have got into the final of this pre-season tournament. That hopefully gives us a chance of silverware against Sevilla. Player sold here as well. That's Weidenfeller. He's finally gone. And some tournament prize money, just under 3 million for managing to do that. But yeah, not quite making profit at the moment. You just saw a glimpse, I think, there. I think about 100 grand not in profit at the moment. So that's not too bad. We have obviously signed 1 or 2 players, and we will continue to do that. But when I made 200 million profit last year, we can kind of expect it to not always be in profit. To end the episode, we've got some transfer offers in, this time for Sewell. It's 35 million from Everton. That's a really strong bid from them, but I'm not interested in getting rid of him, so no price is really good enough. I will continue to reject them rather than inject, although I do like to see the amounts that teams want to bid for our players. 300 grand, we'll just go ahead and accept it. He's 18 years old. He's not brilliant overall, so we won't really go any further with that over the sake of 25 grand, essentially. But that is everything for today's episode. Apologies we've not got to any games to actually play them. Obviously, that'll be next episode when the season starts. But we're basically just, starting the season out. You know how it is if you play career mode. But that's everything for today's episode. Thank you all so much for watching. If we could go ahead and hit 40 likes on today's episode, I would really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well. It would be absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave your transfer suggestions as well in the comments below. We have a budget of about 46 million here to spend, so still a little bit of money there. And we obviously don't need to bring in loads of players, but certainly 1 or 2 players might be quite helpful for us. But yeah, I'll wait and see your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.